Hello, you beautiful people. OpenDarkwing here, and welcome back to Mechanical Mastery. Now, I have a small confession to make, and I apologize for this last week. I've been absolutely in bed sick, and it has not been a great time. I've been either running fever or hacking stuff up. I'm still not fully, completely back, as you can tell from my voice, but I'm good enough to continue here. The other thing I wanted to talk about real quick was we've been kind of stalling out a little bit. And I think the problem is that these packs tend to go in two different categories. You have pre-storage and post-storage. So looking at where we are at the moment here is we've completed down, but this is where we kind of want to be, is our storage system and running automation. Now, we can run more machines much like this to automate out everything else that we need for our mechanical essences, or we can do kind of what we did this last time with the tier 3 materials, push our way up to getting refined storage and all of this, and or AE2, but I think we're going to go the refined storage route this time around. Mostly because it's much more compact, especially when it comes to auto crafting and those sorts of things. But I digress. I think what we're going to do is we're going to run through the effigies, and we're going to unlock refined storage, and then from there, we're going to use the auto crafting system on that to auto craft out all of our things. The other thing that's nice is that Project E has these transmutation interfaces. So you can pull out all of our raw materials perfectly each time. That means that we'll no longer have to rely on auto pulling stuff out of EMC links, that we'll be able to pull it all through there. We can set up rules of keeping so many things in at a time, and we don't have to process everything through. That also means that building processing machines for ore duplication, all that will become much easier once we have kind of a brain system to default back on that. So that is where we are kind of headed. I want to do that. We will also probably redesign a lot of this to be less flat functional, and we'll start building up those buildings we were talking about for different things, but everything will connect then through refined storage. But to get to that point, we need to play around with these effigies. Now, creating the dormant effigies, I've created a handful of them already. They're not too difficult to do. That's the uses. You create one of these soul stones, you create some calcite, you combine them together, you get the effigies. Now, to use them, you can either fill by spout, which is slightly annoying, or we can fill by fluid encapsulators. So which means we need to get these, resin enders, destabilized redstone, we've got lava, and we have energized glowstones, and you throw them in there and it gives you the effigies. That's what we have here, the fluid encapsulators. So we put the effigies in here, you fill it up, and it gives you those things. To melt those down, we have a magnet crucible. So what we've done is we've created this little 1-2 punch in which we auto output over here and auto input on this side, and it'll give us what we need. So you throw in, say, glowstone. Glowstone will give us our energized glowstone. And from there, we're going to make a handful of these, I think. Each of these, just because I want to have enough to complete out our thing as well as make some other stuff. So now we have our Blitz effigies. And we'll talk about what we're going to do with these in just a minute. But for now, we can create these different effigies. And I've kind of pulled out enough, so I think we should be able to have enough here for 5 of each of the effigies. So we will be making 25 total. And I might have one extra of the blaze because we need a little extra. No, I did not make extra of the blaze. We're going to need one extra blaze than the others, mostly because we also need to fill our blaze burner so that we have a wonderful blaze burner going. There are 2 ways of dealing with these effigies. We can either right-click them, place them in the world, and manually kill them, but I am not outfitted to fight anything, let alone some crazy effigies. Just not gonna happen. The other way you can do with these things, and we'll take a look at it in a minute, is you can run it through a sawmill. And the sawmill will give you the outputted stuff in a slightly safer way. We do need to grab 2 more netherrack because we need to build 1 extra blaze for the burner. But we can run these things through and get them that way, or we can let them loose and kill them. I don't think that letting them loose and killing them is the smartest of ideas at the moment. So what we're going to do is we toss them in here. They get chopped down, they get utilized up, and we get the cubes out of them, and or whatever their output is generally. And the nice thing about using the sawmill is that obviously you can augment it up and you can do quite a bit with it to make sure that things go well, if you will. So we'll siphon these things through. We'll come back in a minute and we'll talk about what we're doing with this last blaze. All right, we've gotten the effects out of here, and I believe these will double up and we can get all of our wonderful things out of them. These basalts powders are going to be even more interesting, and we'll talk about that in a second. But for now, we need 1. Oh, wait, no, we don't. We need to make sure we get 1 extra of each of these things, which is always a good thing. We do need to make these charges first before we do the blaze burner. So what we need to do is let's pull all this out now. For each of these things, we need a few items. Now there's a handful of crafting, but this is where we need to go. We need either coal or charcoal and gunpowder. Now gunpowder has been an interesting run. You get gunpowder from nitrate dust and sulfur dust mixed with some charcoal to get your gunpowder. I did get a handful of this stuff going, and we should have quite a bit of gunpowder at the moment and quite a bit of our coal. So what we should be able to do is we're going to just make 15 of each of these for now so that we don't... Oops, I made 18 of that one. Oh, well. You know what? We'll make 18 of all of them. It'll be fine. The idea that we're running with, and then I need one more of these, right? Yeah, one more of these. All right. Now that we have these things up, we've got our elemental charges. We get one more of each more of these. We'll get ourselves our blaze burner, and then we're able to mix one of each of these charges in with a regular mechanical essence and a basic control circuit into a heated thing to give us our improved mechanical essence. And then from there, that is done back in the multi-servo press again, and we'll unlock the next chapter. But yeah, we have all of our nice little charges. We've got extras on our powders. We should be good. Now, capturing a blaze into an empty blaze burner. So you make the empty blaze burners, and at least in this pack, it's fairly simple. You just have some iron sheets, netherrack, and you can get the blaze burner going. You can automate it with 5 if you want to. Don't know why you would, but you could. The effigies can be placed by just simply right-clicking this. Now, my entire base is filled with things that burn, which is one of the reasons why we are using the sawmill to do these things and not. However, I can't just, mix them together. At least I don't believe I can. I could. Oh, that's interesting. However, I kind of want to do it this way because we haven't done much with this. Right-click it. Right-click it. Whoo, we have a blaze burner. This now can go under here, and we can feed it coal or charcoal or whatever, and it will light up, and this will become heated. We don't, and it doesn't. It's all good. So we're looking here. We've got that. We get our coal, so I don't have to go grab some more. What we do need, we'll need some basic control circuits, some regular mechanical essences, and one of each of our charges to make some of these things. We are about to find out how many of these we're going to be able to make at the moment. We have our control circuits. We have plenty of. It is these essences that we only have 8 of at the moment, so we're just going to make 8 for now. We're just going to throw all this stuff in here. Take our coal down. And we're going to light it. And so it gives us everything that we've got. It's mixing it all together, making us our essences. We'll pull everything out of it. It'll be fine. But this will at least get us to the point where we can unlock the next portion. And most importantly, we have improved mechanical essences. We're just going to convert one of these because the other ones we're going to need for our wonderful little storage system that we are designing and building. But this will give us our next tier up, which we are extremely grateful for. But this also allows us to unlock either going the AE2 route, which we'll have to run inscribers and silicon presses and all that stuff to get through, or we go the refined storage route, which requires improved mechanical essence, some silicon, which we've been making, an advanced processor, which I haven't done any of those yet, but we can build those together real quick, and get ourselves refined storage. All right, so before my voice completely gives out, and before we get too far into refined storage, we have completed out the improved mechanical essences, which allows us to get into this next tier. So let's unlock and look ahead to see what our next tier is, and where we're kind of going from here and what we're doing, it looks like there's a couple of more stuff that we can do as time goes on, but for now, let's see what we've got. We now have access to ancient debris. This is the transmutation interface we were talking about a minute ago. We're gonna need some regular essences, some energy condensers, and all this stuff to make it, which will be absolutely amazing to be able to do. We now have access to emeralds. We have access to uranium, mechanism uranium, which will get us into more fossil fuel production, which is great because we've been holding off on doing a lot until we get to that point. We now have access to sugarcane and eggs. We get ourselves 3 chicken spawn eggs. Use these wisely, no refunds. You may also bulk haunt dough to get eggs. Oh, that's interesting. And then cinder flour, which we've done cinder flour before, but apparently it didn't count because of this. So let's get these things tossed in here and learned. We got fluorite, uranium, sugarcane, none of this other stuff other than the improved crystals, which we'll throw in there for that. And then we just need, let's get ourselves a piece of netherrack. And we'll grind that out real quick. We built this thing last time. There we go. To unlock you. And then from there we can make blaze cake. So the blaze cake base, you mix egg, sugar, and cinder flour into compacting. That's interesting. So it's a mechanical press to a basin to get blaze cake base. And then you use the spout with lava to make blaze cake. And so the blaze cakes is like a superheating element, which is what's needed for these. It needs to be superheated. So you have to use the blaze cake in here to superheat. You've got better control crystals, fission fuel pellets, and Mobius fuel. And this all kind of builds, you know, up to our next system, which means we're going to be doing quite a bit with the fission reactor and fission fuel production, and getting into some pretty hefty mechanism power, which is why we've just been kind of advanced solar generating for now and working this stuff. So let's, before we get too far down that rabbit hole, now that we've unlocked that, we'll start building a plan for this. But let's also make sure that we get ourselves into refined storage and get those things built up and running so that we have a better pathway forward as these things go. So let's figure out where we're going to put this, how we're going to do this. But it should be fairly rudimentary as we move on this thing. So I will I'll get that, and hopefully my voice is still somewhat around to finish this thing up once we've got refined storage. So, you know, joys of getting over this thing. Okay, so I don't know how to math, and I kind of want to overkill. I did get the storage disk and the controllers, all this stuff that I needed to be able to unlock all this fun stuff. We've got it all set up over here. I have created a 4K disc and a 256K disc because I mathed wrong and made 2 64K storage parts, so I decided to just make a third one, complete the trek up. We got a 256K storage disc now and a 4K one, which I had to make the 4K or something smaller just for giggles and everything else, but we now have 260K available in our system, which means we'll be able to put all this stuff in here as well as hooking up our system. Now, the way this typically works, and everything's going to kind of change underneath here, because we're going to be getting rid of a lot of the logistical transporters, and we're going to be switching a lot to stuff out of here. And so the way this typically works is you can import stuff in through here, through an importer exporter, which we might still use the logistical pipes because they're a little cheaper sometimes. But we can also run storage interfaces into here and set that as a higher priority, so that when you input and take out of here in our storage, which we don't have anything in here just yet, but now we've got some processors in and it's not terrible. But when we input stuff into here, it will prioritize. We can set up priorities on here to the lowest priority into our disk drive, and higher priorities into our storage drawer system. This way we have access to our blocks, nuggets, like all of this stuff. So it makes things a little bit nicer and a little bit easier that way. But that goes into what we have completed so far into refined storage. We will hook up our system, and then we can get rid of all of this stuff and toss it in here. And when we come back next week, we will work on building up some crafters and auto crafting and figuring out the best way to start utilizing and getting rid of some of this processes, and how to auto craft into these presses and all this stuff, as well as, you know, just start auto crafting and incorporating in create more into the system. It may not be as effective, and we'll have to look to see, but you know, there are some things that we can do for utilizing the blasting. I've kind of created this up. If you lift this and you toss the water back in, it will wash. You pull the water out, you lay this down, it turns into a blasting. It was just faster, especially for processors, to do a stack at a time, or to create the silicon. You can throw in multiple stacks of the nether quartz in there, and it will blast them up instead of cycling them through one at a time through a redstone furnace or something like that. However, that's going to conclude this week. We've unlocked that up. We will start the process of auto crafting and automating next episode. Depending on how my voice goes, it might be a little delayed, or it might be a few days. I am not sure. But until then, thank you guys so much for joining me and having patience with me today. I hope that you guys have a great week. Contact your family, let them know you love them, and we will see you guys all next time.